everyone. Welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. Today we're going to be going over the starts and sits for all 14 remaining matchups. If you guys haven't heard already, the Titans and the Steelers game has been postponed. Looks like they're going to end up playing a game in Week 8, I believe. And with that being said, before we get into this is going to be the start sit for all the other matchups for the week. Thursday night's game looked a little sloppy last night. We didn't expect too much from this game to start with. If you guys were out there starting Jameson Crowder, Tim Patrick, somebody like that, you probably did all right. The Jets defense would have been all right to stream. Not too many big takeaways from that game. Jeff Smith is a wide receiver to look out for in the coming weeks for the Jets. He played pretty well. Jerry Jeudy kind of lucked his way into a touchdown, but otherwise he was pretty useless. But we'll get into the matchups now. We're going to start with the Bears and the Colts. So on the Bears side, we got Nick Foles. Nick Foles is a sit this week. You should have better options out there. Colts defense has been pretty decent. David Montgomery, he's kind of like a low-end running back 2 or a flex play this week. I know Tariq Cohen's gone now, but the Colts defense has generally been very good against the run. Allen Robinson's going to be a start. Anthony Miller and Darnell Mooney are both going to be sits. We want to see how they play with Nick Foles in his first full game starting. Jimmy Graham's a low-end tight end 1 for me this week, so you can start him if you need to. If you have a better option, go with your better option. Bears defense is kind of the same way. You can start him. Shouldn't be too bad for them. Phillip Rivers has been known to throw an interception or two, so they're not the worst play in the world. Kyrie Santos we're probably not starting. On the Colts side, Phillip Rivers, this is not a matchup you want to start him in. He hasn't looked very good this year, so he's an obvious sit. Jonathan Taylor's a start this week. Nyheim Hines is kind of a sleeper guy for me this week. I think with Michael Pittman Jr. and Paris Campbell missing, he could see some more receptions in this game for sure. But until we see it happen, it is probably a case where we're not going to start him until we see that happen. T.Y. Hilton, for me, he was my sit of the week for the Podcastic Fantasy Teams article. He just hasn't done anything this year. He's been awful. He hasn't been on the field a lot. I know Pittman Jr. and Campbell are both hurt, but until he shows something, you can't trust him. Zach Pascal is pretty much the same way. You're going to sit him until he shows something. Then when you got down to Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox, you're probably not going to start either of these two guys at this point. Maybe Mo Alley Cox in a deeper league you could play, but we still don't know what his full role is going to be yet. Colts defense is all right. You can play them if you don't have a better choice. You can play them. Blankenship, the kicker, you probably have a better kicker than him. Then we got the Giants and the Rams. So we'll start off on the Rams side. Jared Goff, you can stream him in this matchup. The Giants defense isn't great at all, so it could be a decent matchup for him. So he's streamable. You can start him if you don't have a better option. And then for the running backs, Malcolm Brown's going to be a sit. Darrell Henderson is a start. Giants are not very good against the run at all, and Henderson's looked great so far in his 2 primary games. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp are both going to be starts. Like I said, Giants defense isn't anything special, so they should both have solid games. Tyler Higbee, for me, he's kind of like borderline. He's kind of been more touchdown reliant than anything this year. It's not the best matchup in the world, but it's not the worst matchup in the world. So if you have a better option, play your better option. If you don't, just roll to Higbee out and you'll be all right. Rams defense, this is one that you want to stream this week. Kind of talked about that in my waiver segment. Sloman, the kicker, you could probably play him this week if you don't have a better option. Daniel Jones is going to be a sit. I don't know if you're ever going to be able to start Daniel Jones this year. All these running backs for the Giants are going to be sits until somebody stands out of the crowd. Darius Slayton's going to be a sit for me. He's going to go up against Jalen Ramsey, and I just don't see it going well for him. Golden Tate is probably somebody you could start in a PPR league as kind of like a wide receiver 3 or a flex play if you're a team that needs one of those options. He probably won't kill you. Daniel Jones is going to have to get the ball out quick in this one, so that is somebody you want to look out for is Golden Tate. Evan Ingram's a sit for me. He's looked awful this year. He's playing almost all the time. Honestly, he's out on the field all the time, but he's just not doing anything. So he's going to be a sit. Giants defense is a sit. The kicker, he's just kind of like one of the middle of the pack guys. You can play him if you don't have a better option. If you have a better option, go with your better option. Then next up, we got the Bengals and the Jaguars. So we'll start with the Bengals side. Joe Burrow. You can start Joe Burrow in this matchup. He's a streamable quarterback if you don't have a better option out there. Joe Mixon, I know you guys are hating on Joe Mixon. So many people are hating on Joe Mixon so far. The offensive line's terrible. This is a decent matchup, even though Jacksonville hasn't given up a ton of yards to the running back. One of these games, Joe Mixon's just going to break out and have a huge game, so I'm just going to keep starting him. But he's kind of like a RB2 or a flex play at this point. Tyler Boyd, I'm going to start him in this matchup. He's looked real good this year. AJ Green and T. Higgins, I'm sitting both of these guys at this point. I want to see how it plays out a little bit more for them. It's a decent matchup. You could probably play them if you really needed to, but they're just not somebody I'm comfortable starting this week. Drew Sample, he looked pretty good coming in for Uzama against the Browns. Then last week he only saw one target for 1 yard against the Eagles defense that wasn't very good against the tight end. So until we see more, we can't trust him to be started. Bengals defense, we're not going to start. Randy Bullock's going to be a sit as well. Jaguars side, we got Gardner Minshew. He's coming off of a tough game against Miami. Didn't look very well. Can throw the ball a little bit on the Bengals. It's easier to run them against them. If DJ Chark plays, you can stream Minshew in this matchup. But if you have a better option, be sure to go with your better option. James Robinson, solid start this week. Going against a poor Bengals run defense. Chris Thompson's a sit this week. Or he's probably not going to do as much this week. It should be a positive or neutral game script, which favors Robinson. Then we got DJ Chark. If he plays and you need him, you can start him. If he doesn't play, or if he plays and you have a better option or a similar option, I would play that option. I just don't trust him coming off of this injury. It makes me a little bit nervous. If I'm able to sit him, I'm going to sit him this week. These other wide receivers, I'm going to sit unless DJ Chark misses. Not too much more to say there. Tyler Eifert's going to be a sit until he shows us a little bit more. Jaguars defense is a sit. And new kicker for them, Steven Hauschka, is going to be a sit until we know where he's at. We got the Raiders and the Bills up next. Derek Carr is a sneaky one in this. You could probably stream him if you really need to. There's probably a better option out there. If you're in a 2-quarterback league, you can start him pretty easily. And the Bills are not quite as tough as some people think they are on defense. Josh Jacobs is somebody you're probably starting every week anyways, so you feel free to start him. Hunter Renfrow is somebody you can play as a wide receiver 3 or flex play this week. The Bills are awful against slot wide receivers, which Hunter Renfrow is. Bryan Edwards is out. Henry Ruggs is out. So there's not many other wide receivers to go to besides him and Darren Waller. Nelson Aguilar does make this list, and he's going to be a sit just because we can't trust him until we see more from him. Darren Waller is a start in this one. The Bills did get their linebackers back last week, and that did help them out a lot. But Waller is just going to see so much volume that it's not going to matter. Raiders defense is a sit. Daniel Carlson, the kicker, you can play. Josh Allen, he's going to be a start once again. You're just going to keep starting him until he shows you otherwise. Singletary, he's definitely a start if Moss misses. But if Moss plays, he's kind of like a flex option more than anything. Zach Moss is a sit until he's fully healthy and we see more from him. Stephon Diggs is going to be a start. John Brown has been banged up with a calf injury, so he's a sit for me. Gabriel Davis is kind of like a low-end flyer guy if you're in a deep league. If John Brown misses, you could play him, but otherwise he's just a bench stash at this point. Cole Beasley could be a little bit of a sneaky play this week, especially if John Brown does miss, but otherwise he's pretty much a sit. He's probably just a deep PPR league guy than anything. Dawson Knox, I'm not sure on the status of his concussion, but him and Tyler Kroft are both going to be sits this week. I know Kroft did have 2 touchdowns last week, but that's more of a fluke than anything. Bills defense, you can play in this one. Tyler Bass, the kicker, we're just going to pass on for right now. Seahawks and Dolphins. So on the Seahawks side, we got a lot of options. Russell Wilson's you're going to start. Chris Carson, if he plays, you can start him. If he doesn't play, you sit him. If Chris Carson doesn't play, you could start Carlos Hyde. He's had a little bit of a shoulder injury himself. Don't expect too much from him. He's more of a RB2 or flex play than anything. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, you're going to be starting both these two guys pretty much every week the rest of the season. Greg Olsen, we're just going to sit him. I know he had a decent week last week, but it's mainly the wide receiver show here than anything. A lot of people have talked about the Seahawks defense, streaming them this week. I don't get it. Their defense has been horrible, and until you see a change with that, you cannot trust them, so they're a sit. Jason Myers is an obvious start. And then on the Dolphins side, we got Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick is a streamable option this week. Going against this Seattle defense that is very, very banged up. They've been very bad against quarterbacks and wide receivers so far this year. And Seahawks are going to be leading early and often, so Fitzpatrick's going to have to sling the ball around a lot. He was actually my start of the week for that Podcastic Fantasy Team article. So if you need a quarterback this week, or you're somebody who's been streaming quarterbacks, or you had Big Ben or Tannehill that you're planning on playing, you can put Fitzpatrick in there. Myles Gaskin, he's a start for me this week. He's going to see volume in the passing game with them trailing. He's the pass catching back, and he's going to get his carries. In PPR, he's definitely worth starting. In Standard League, he's more of a flex than anything. Devontae Parker, you can start. Preston Williams, you can start if you need to. He should get some volume in this game. Mike Gesicki's a start this week. Like I said, it's just going to be a lot of passing volume in this one, so he should be safe as well. Dolphins defense, you're going to sit. Jason Sanders is probably a sit as well. Now we got the Browns and the Cowboys. If I remember correctly, this is projected to be one of the highest scoring games of the week. Obviously, the Cowboys have been putting up a lot of points, and their defense isn't very good. So we'll start with the Browns side. Baker Mayfield, he's a streamable option, but you probably have a better choice. Nick Chubb's going to be a start. Kareem Hunt's going to be a start. Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be a start in this one as well. Jarvis Landry is kind of like a low-end start, like a wide receiver 3 or a flex play. You can play him if you need to. If you got a better option, play your better option. So a lot of starts so far for the Browns, mainly because the Cowboys' defense hasn't been too good. Austin Hooper is going to be a sit for me this week. Browns' defense is going to be a sit versus a high-powered offense. Cody Parkey is a sit as well. On the Cowboys side, we got Dak Prescott. He's going to be an obvious start pretty much every week. Same with Zeke. Cooper's a start in this one. Gallup is a start in this one as well. I'm going to be sitting Lamb. He had a little bit of an injury last week. I know Cedric Wilson did work his way in a little bit, end up with 2 touchdowns. But him and Lamb are both going to be sits. Dalton Schultz, he's like a streamable tight end. You can play him if you need to. Browns aren't great against the tight end. So he's definitely worth it if you don't have a better option. Cowboys defense is going to be a sit. Greg Zuerlein, you can line up as your kicker if you need to. And then we got Chargers and the Buccaneers. So Justin Herbert, everybody is like going crazy over Justin Herbert. And honestly, he's got 300 yards passing in 2 straight games. He got a touchdown, but he's also thrown a pick in both games. He's played good, but he hasn't played great. He had 2 turnovers last week against Carolina, so you're not going to play him this week. Tampa Bay has a good defense. Just don't fall into this trap of playing Herbert. Austin Eckler is a start for me this week. Tampa has a good run defense. I think the Chargers are going to be playing from behind, and Eckler has been seeing a lot of targets since Herbert's took over as quarterback, so that helps him out as well. Joshua Kelly is going to be a sit for me this week. Like I said, Tampa Bay has a tough run defense, so that's not going to help him too much. He didn't play as much when they got behind against Carolina as well, so that's something to keep out for. Keenan Allen is a start. Mike Williams is going to be a sit. I know he's banged up with a hamstring injury too, so there's a chance he might not even play. Hunter Henry, you can play if you don't have a better option. If you have a better option, once again, play your better option. Chargers defense, I'm going to sit this week. Michael Bagley, the kicker, is probably a sit as well. On the Buccaneers side, we got Tom Brady. Tom Brady, this is not the greatest matchup in the world for him, but it's not awful either. Chris Harris Jr. is out. The Chargers defense is getting pretty banged up. So if you need to start Tom Brady, you can. But if you have a better option, just play your better option. Ronald Jones is going to be a start in this one. Leonard Fournette's missed a lot of practice this week, so that's definitely something to follow. Jones should have a pretty good game in this one. Leonard Fournette's going to be a sit. Like I said, he's been out of practice. Chris Godwin's going to be a sit. He's hurt right now. Mike Evans is an obvious start. Scotty Miller is probably a sit because he's kind of questionable for this game as well. You could have like Justin Watson or Tyler Johnson or somebody like that as well, but you can't really trust them yet. Gronkowski is a streamable tight end option if you're desperate, but I wouldn't trust him this week. And then O.J. Howard is a sit as well. Tampa Bay's defense will play. Ryan Succop's an okay kicker. You can play him if you need to. Then we got the Panthers and the Cardinals. So we got Teddy Bridgewater. He's an obvious sit until he shows us something. Mike Davis, he's a start. You can play him as like a running back 2 or a low end running back 2 or a flex play, especially in PPR formats. I am going to start DJ Moore in this game, and I'm going to start Robbie Anderson in this game. I think this is the game DJ Moore really breaks out. I know Teddy's shown more chemistry with Robbie Anderson for whatever reason, but I do like Moore in this one. I think both of them could have good games. Curtis Samuel is going to be a sit. Ian Thomas is going to be a sit. Panthers defense once again is a sit. Joey Slye, the kicker, you can play if you need to. Then for the Cardinals, we got Kyler Murray. He's going to be a start for me. Kenyon Drake's going to be a good start this week as well. Carolina Panthers run defense is pretty bad. DeAndre Hopkins is obviously a start if he plays. He's been banged up a little bit in practice this week, so that's something to keep an eye out for. Larry Fitzgerald could be a start if Hopkins doesn't play, if Kirk doesn't play. Then they got to throw the ball to somebody. With that being said, Christian Kirk's pretty much a sit. I don't think he's going to end up playing this week as well. Andy Isabella is another guy to watch, but I'd only really be playing him if Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins both miss. But he's just a name to watch out for. In DFS, he could be out there as a decent option as well. Dan Arnold, the tight end, we're going to be sitting until he shows us more. Cardinals defense, you could play in this one. It's actually one of the streamable matchups I did like for this week against Carolina. And then Zane Gonzalez, the kicker, you're going to be starting. And then we got the Texans and the Vikings. So you guys already know Texans are my favorite team. So we'll be going through this real quick. Deshaun Watson's going to be a start. David Johnson, you can start him. He's probably like a low-end running back 2 at this point. Will Fuller was my start of the week. He was downgraded to questionable yesterday. I believe this is his hamstring injury once again. So roller coaster ride, here we come again. If he plays, you can start him. If you got a better option, just play your better option. Like, it's just too risky. Brandon Cooks is a start in this one. Randall Cobb is a sit, unless like Will Fuller doesn't play or something like that. Darren Fells and Jordan Akins are both going to be sits at this point. Texans defense is a sit. You can play the Texans kicker if you want to. Then Kirk Cousins, he's going to be a sit for me. I know the Texans defense isn't the greatest in the world. This could end up being a shootout, but Cousins, he's so hit or miss, especially this year. Dalvin Cook, you can start. Alexander Madison's going to be a sit. Adam Thielen is a start. Justin Jefferson, you guys picked him up off the waiver wire. I know a lot of you did. You want to roll him out the first week you got him, right? Don't expect what he did last week. Houston Texans secondary is not very good, but Jefferson is still a rookie. He's probably not going to see that volume again. And until he shows it a couple games, I'm really not trusting him to start. So he's a sit unless you really need a wide receiver at this point. Kyle Rudolph, Irv Smith, both of these guys haven't done anything this year, so they're obviously sits. Vikings defense is still pretty bad, so you're going to sit them. Dan Bailey, the kicker, you can run out there if you need to. Lions and Saints. Stafford's like borderline for me. He's kind of like that streamable quarterback. So if you got somebody better, play your better option. Adrian Peterson's going to be a sit for me in this one. Saints do have a pretty good run defense, so we're not going to discredit that. You probably shouldn't be starting Adrian Peterson anyways, unless you're desperate. So he's a sit. DeAndre Swift, his snap count died last week. Not too much more to say there, so he's a sit. Kerryon Johnson's going to be a sit as well. Kenny Galladay, you can start in this one. Feel pretty good about it. Marvin Jones, you're probably going to be sitting unless you really need a wide receiver. TJ Hawkinson's one of them borderline tight ends. If you need a tight end, he's all right. If you got somebody better, play the better option. Actually, like in one of my leagues, I'm have to play TJ Hawkinson this week because I had Jonnu Smith and he's missing. So if you're in that situation, you can do something like what I'm doing. Lions defense, you're going to sit. Matt Prater, you can play. On the Saints side, Drew Brees is going to be a start this week. Lions defense isn't very good. Latavius Murray is going to be a sit. Alvin Kamara is going to be a start. Michael Thomas, if he plays, you're going to start him. Emmanuel Sanders is a sit. Traquan Smith is like a start if Michael Thomas doesn't play. And pretty much if like you're the Michael Thomas owner. Jared Cook hasn't practiced this week, so he's probably not going to play, so he's a sit. Adam Troutman's another name to consider if you're looking for a guy in DFS more than anything. If he plays, he could see some volume. Saints defense, you can probably play in this one, but don't expect too much. Will Less, the kicker, you can start him and be all right. So we got the Washington football team and the Ravens. So we got Dwayne Haskins. He's an obvious sit in this one. Antonio Gibson's going to be a sit going against the tough Ravens run defense. Terry McLaurin, he's borderline. If you don't have anybody better than him, you can play him. He's pretty talented. He's gone against good cornerbacks and done well. But if you got anybody else that's remotely close to him, I'd probably sit him. Steven Sim Jr. is a sit. Logan Thomas is another borderline tight end. He's probably going to be a sit this week, though. He's not a bad DFS play, though. Washington defense is a sit. Dustin Hopkins is a sit. So pretty much everybody on the Washington side is going to be a sit. I expect the Ravens to come out and just kick butt in this one. I expect their defense to play a lot better. Obviously, Washington's offense is nowhere near what Kansas City's is. So this could be a very lopsided game. Lamar Jackson's a start. Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, they're all sits until somebody shows me otherwise. Hollywood Brown, you can start him if you need to. If not, play somebody else. Mark Andrews, start. Not too much more to say there. Ravens defense, Justin Tucker, they're both starts. They both have a pretty good matchup in this one. Then we got the Patriots and the Chiefs. Patriots side, Cam Newton was actually my sit of the week in the article. If you got a better option or you got a streamer that you can play this week, I'd play them ahead of Cam Newton. I don't expect too much from him against the Chiefs defense. Chiefs defense has played very well so far this year. And if Cam Newton doesn't get the rushing touchdowns, his upside is very, very limited. Patriots running backs, we're sitting all of them this week. I don't care if you had Rex Burkhead as a pickup. I don't care that Sony Michel ran for 100 yards last week. It doesn't matter to me because, at this point, you got Sony Michel, you got Rex Burkhead, you got James White, Damian Harris might be back this week, and J.J. Taylor. Are they going to have all 5 of them active on game day? It's just a mess. You can't trust anybody at this point, and they're going to be trailing. So it's not like they're going to be running the ball a lot either. N'Keal Harry, you could start as a wide receiver 3 or a flex play in this one. I expect the Patriots to be trailing. He's a good play for DFS as well. Julian Edelman, you can start him in this one as well. I think he'll do all right. Harry might be the one that struggles the most out of these, but I think they're going to be behind a lot of the game, have to throw the ball a lot, so it should benefit both wide receivers. Ryan Izzo, the tight end's obviously a sit. They don't use him in the passing game. Patriots defense, I would pivot to another defense this week. The kicker, I'm going to stay away from as well. Patrick Mahomes is obviously a start. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a start. Tyreek Hill is going to be a start. Travis Kelce's a start. Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, they're pretty much sits for me. You don't want to play these guys. It's just too hit or miss. Chiefs defense, you can start in this one. I think they'll put enough pressure on the Patriots to be worth it. Harrison Butker, the kicker, is obviously a start as well. Then we got Sunday night game, which is the 49ers and the Eagles. It looks like Nick Mullins is going to be the quarterback again. So you could play him against the Eagles if you really needed to. But he's more of a 2-quarterback league guy than anything at this point. Jeff Wilson Jr. is very interesting to me. You couldn't start him as a flex play if you need to. If Raheem Mostert does play, you cannot play him. But if Mostert misses again, Jeff Wilson Jr. is in play and McKinnon's in play. Looks like McKinnon's going to play this week even though he had that rib injury. So both these guys are going to be starts. 49ers wide receivers, I'm still setting both of them. Debo could be back this week. Brandon Ayuk, yeah, he had a nice week. But I don't expect too much from him. And if Darius Slay's covering him, good luck. George Kittle, you're going to start him if he plays. 49ers defense, you can play them. Carson Wentz thrown 2 interceptions every game so far this year. So it's definitely a decent matchup. Robbie Gould, the kicker, you can play easily. Then on the Eagles side, Carson Wentz is an obviously sit until he figures out what the heck he's doing. Miles Sanders is a start. Boston Scott, if you were in a deep league that played a lot of flex positions, he wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I expect him to see some targets this week, but otherwise he's a sit. Deshaun Jackson's a sit. Hasn't practiced all week, and I don't expect him to play. Alshon Jeffrey has been practicing in limited fashion. If he plays, you're just going to sit him either way, because if he plays, he's going to be on a snap count. If he doesn't play, he's not going to get you any value, obviously. Greg Ward is he's probably my new star of the week over Will Fuller at wide receiver. Just with all the receiving options being banged up. He saw 11, 12 targets last week, got a touchdown, caught 8 of them. He had a pretty good week. I expect more of the same against a banged up 49ers defense. Should be a decent play. Zach Ertz is obvious starting this one. Eagles defense, you're going to sit. Jake Elliott, you can start as well. Packers and Falcons. So Aaron Rodgers is a start. Falcons defense is terrible. Then we got Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones you're going to be starting him every week. Devontae Adams, you start him if he's playing. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, you can start him as a wide receiver 3 or a flex play this week, especially with Allen Lazard missing. They are going against this Falcons defense that is terrible. Packers tight ends, you're pretty much sitting all these guys unless you're really desperate and you need Robert Tonyan, but even that is a big reach for me. Packers defense, you're sitting. Mason Crosby, you can start. Falcons side, Matt Ryan, you're going to keep starting if you've been playing him, unless you got a clear better option for some reason. And then Todd Gurley was one of my sits of the week. They're going to be trailing a lot in this game, and they haven't been using him in the passing game. So it doesn't look good for him in this one, unless he gets a touchdown. Julio Jones, if he plays, you start him. Calvin Ridley, if he plays, you start him. Russell Gage, he's in concussion protocol. I'm going to be sitting him unless one of the 2 guys above him does not play. Hayden Hurst is a sit for me. He was actually one of my tight end sit of the week. They played last week without Julio Jones and Russell Gage for most of the game, and Hayden Hurst still only saw 3 targets, so that's very concerning to me. The only way I'd play Hurst is like if 2 of the wide receivers are missing, because they're going to be trailing and have to throw the ball. Atlanta defense, you're never going to start. And then the kicker, Koo's hurt, and they brought in Fry this week. You're just going to be setting these guys because it's just too risky at this point. But with that being said, that's pretty much all the other 14 matchups for this week, doing the start sits for each of them. I hope you guys all enjoy this. Hope that it gave you a little bit of insight into some of the matchups, who I like this week, who I don't like this week. Like I said last week, if you guys have any start sit questions at all, feel free to leave them down in the comments. You can also reach out to me at CoachCraigSports@gmail.com, on the Coach Craig Sports Facebook page, or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport. And that goes out for anything, whether it's start sit questions, trade advice, roster advice, should I pick up this person or not, a lot of anything like that, anything that revolves fantasy football. If you want to talk about anything, just let me know. But with that being said, if you guys liked and enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It helps build that community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports. And if you're a new or current subscriber who has yet to do so, also hit that little notification bell down below. And it'll let you know every single time that I post up a video. Like I've been saying, put up about 5 a week, and then a live stream on Sunday before the games. Usually around 11:30 Eastern time in the morning. But with that being said, that's all I got for today. Hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and have a great rest of your day.